Could you tell me where to find the world record largemouth bass? Do you know where I can find the world record bass?
World record large.
Yeah. No, can I ask you a question? I love your skateboard. Thank you. That thing's awesome. You want to do some ollies? Where can I find the world record bass?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, thank you.
I can't do ollies.
Really?
I can do a couple 360s.
Right on, let's see some. Nice. Nice. Woo!
The world record bass?
Yeah, just give me something, because I'm not getting anything.
Am I out of line right now to ask you for a hug? I feel like I'm gonna look like you when I'm a little older.
Really?
Yeah. All right.
Lake Dixon?
You know, don't you?
No.
So if I go up to Lake Dixon, I would have a shot at finding it, wouldn't I? Give it up.
Right. Oh,
That's where I'm
what
headed.
kind of bass?
That's where I'm headed.
That's where
You
you're
just
headed?
be you. I'm headed there. Hey, dude. You know where I can find the world record bass?
Yeah.
Are you ready for it?
Ladies and gentlemen, why you're not out fishing is beyond us. But since you're here, consider yourselves hooked. Welcome to the world's greatest fishing show. Today's guests are world record bass hunters Mac Weekly, Jed Dickerson, and Mike Wynn. And now, direct to your living room from Island Hills Country Club, a record holder himself. That is, if Motley Crue counts, Mark Zona.
Oh, look at that. You ever watch those guys? ESPN? Long distance hitters. As far as they can hit it is the only thing they care about. Don't care about par, putting, sand wedge thing. Well, pretty much in fishing, I found those same exact guys. I found 3 of them. They don't care about keepers, no numbers, 4-pounders. All they care about is the big one. And the hotbed for this, Southern California. Let's go.
Southern California. If you don't already know, I'm here to tell you that it's the place to be if you want to catch a world record bass. In fact, Escondido's Lake Dixon is known to hold a 25-pound largemouth, which is why the world's greatest fishing show has to see the lake with the world's largest bass. And who better to show us than the 3 guys who caught the fish, Mac Weekly, Jed Dickerson, and Mike Wynn.
All right, we're here first morning at Lake Dixon, and right behind me is where the 25-pound bass was caught last year. And to the left of me are the 3 guys that caught the fish. Today is a perfect day to catch them, and more than anything, they're gonna show us exactly what they did last year to catch that bass. You always paint a picture in your head of what a lake's gonna look like when you get to it. I pictured it as a quiet, you know, the fish would be pristine, and dude, you better be on your game at Lake Dixon, because these fish are chased in a circle all day long, every minute of the day.
Look at that male's coming up to see you right there. He's on top of the water.
Hold up, hold up, hold up. I'm gonna jack and bust his head. Very first 10 minutes we get there, there's about a 4.5-pounder spawning right there, and Jed's like, oh, look, there's a bass right there, and just keeps on going. I said, hey, bud, you need to put the brakes on.
Are you on the fish one?
Yeah, where's he at? He's right on it, right behind it.
Yeah. There we go.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Check this out. Oh!
Oh, he popped up.
All right, I gotta calm down. Give it up, that was awesome. All right, let's look for another one.
Those 2, right?
Big male, I mean, the males are like this big. That was like a 5-pound male. That's he striking out right there, huh? A little embarrassing. It's a bummer to come out of the gate like that, though. You know, you just get there, and the first one you hook, you lose it. Stuff like that.
That fish will be biting later this afternoon.
Coming up on the world's greatest fishing show, the story behind the biggest bass ever caught.
That first few months after this fish was caught was just complete mayhem.
We're all just chasing a ghost.
On June 2nd, 1932, George Washington Perry, a young farmer from Georgia, caught what is recognized today as the official world record largemouth bass. The 22-pound 4-ounce mark set a seemingly unreachable weight for 74 years. That was until March 20th, 2006, when the bass fishing world got a 25-pound wake-up call.
Buddha picks her up, you know, and I tell everyone on the dock, I said, well, boys, there's the world record.
That first few months after this fish was caught was just complete mayhem.
Here's Mark Zona and a truly remarkable fish tale.
This is a story that has everything. Victory, loss, controversy, but more than anything, it is the #1 fish story throughout time. And the whole story starts with 3 childhood friends on a little lake just outside of San Diego.
We had interest in fishing, you know, and pretty soon we started coming up to the lake together, and his mom or my dad or his dad, they'd drop us off at the lake and they could go, you know, they could go do whatever they had to take care of, and that was the good old days.
Fishing for fun, those were the good old days, man. But everything changed in 2003. Jed Dickerson caught a giant bass, a bass over 21 pounds, and that bass had a small dot under its chin.
You know, people don't even realize that when he caught that fish first back in 2003, the fish did weigh 22 pounds, 9 ounces.
We waited like 2 to 3 hours for the Fish and Game to come here and verify it, and by the time he got here, you know, she'd shot out little eggs, and she weighed 21.11, you know, and he said that he knows that it was bigger, but there's nothing he could do because that's all he saw.
Man, that close to the world record. And for the next 3 years, these 3 guys were consumed with this one bass in this little lake until March 19th, 2006. They got a call.
He calls me on the phone and says, I found a big one, and I'm like, you know, I ask him how big, he's all, it's a big one. So right there, I'm like, man, this sucks, you know. Right where I was gonna go, and he finds a giant one.
Mac went out in the boat with Kyle and looked at the fish, and he told him, he said, that's Jed's fish. That's a fish Jed caught.
I knew that fish had the capability of being over 22 pounds.
So I went up and got a campsite, and we came up here early in the morning, and the rest is history.
Boy, they made history. A 25-pound bass had the same black dot under its chin from the bass that Jed Dickerson caught in 2003. It's the same fish. But here's the bad deal. They made history in a very controversial way. The fish was foul hooked.
You have this small window of opportunity for these fish. You know, there's so many different factors that can happen. That day, you know, it was cold, it was rainy. We weren't sure, you know, what was going to happen. I just felt that was the right time to set on that fish, and unfortunately, it was hooked in its side.
So there it is. They know they've got the record. They know they're going to be under a microscope, so here's what they do. They say, we're not going to submit it for a record. We're going to take a picture of it. We're going to let it go. Instantly, Jed Dickerson said, the hate wagon started.
You read on the internet and like a lot of chat rooms, these people, they don't know you, they don't know anything about you, they've never even fished with you or seen you fishing. For them to type in, you know, whatever they snagged it and whatever this and that is just kind of ridiculous.
The people that say a lot of this stuff that don't know us, you know, we've got tons of other, you know, legitimate big fish catches. It just comes down to people being envious and jealous.
This bass probably gave these guys more grief than good, but make no doubt about it, they are extremely proud of what they did.
Before I caught this last year, you would have people all the time that were like, you know, I think I'm just going to give up on this. You know, I think that we're all just chasing a ghost. You know, this is ridiculous. But we showed the whole world that, yes, there is a fish that can grow that large, and there is a fish that's out there that's that big. And yes, you could be the one to catch that fish. We could have kept the fish, but we let the fish go. And we gave all these people a shot at catching this fish.
March 19th, 2006.
2006. Let's let it go, guys.
Coming up on the world's greatest fishing show. Just how do you catch a bass over 20 pounds?
Just shaking it as much as possible.
Their way of fishing is just textbook. Got it. Oh, that was phenomenal.
The world's greatest fishing show is back and hunting world record bass on Lake Dixon with Mac Weekly, Jed Dickerson, and Mike Wynn.
It's a bizarre feeling, too. I mean, if you really think about it, that you're on a lake where there's a world record underneath you, you know. If you really think about that concept, that's hard to grasp because you wonder, you know, you wonder your whole life if one's out there.
While Lake Dixon is gaining fame for its trophy fish, one purpose for the lake is water storage. As a result, it's strictly managed. No gasoline-powered boats allowed here. So if you want to hunt for the world record, leave your high-dollar bass rig behind. One of these aluminum rentals will do just fine.
Explain what you're doing right there, Matt.
Just shaking it as much as possible.
Their way of fishing, the spawners, is just textbook.
Just bouncing it all over its nest.
Put your bait in the bed, shake it until she comes and eats it. They're just sitting there aggravating a female bass into biting. Got it. That's generally the size of the bait of the ones you're really catching, isn't it?
Pretty much. About 23 more pounds and it'll be there.
Here's what I've learned about spawning fish. Find something you have confidence in and throw it. The fish will bite it. If you aggravate them enough, they'll bite it. These are naughty. These are naughty little.
Yeah. Those little grubs and stuff like that, we throw stuff down there. Well, we used to, you know, when we were kids, you know.
Wait, what are you saying?
Well,
are you making fun of my little crawdads?
No.
One bait, that's all they had. They had a single white jig. I'm not gonna lie to you though. That jig right there, you never hear, like on the tournament trails, any of them.
Right.
That guys are sight fishing with just a jig. No trailer, just a white jig, nothing else.
Nothing.
Never hear that. White jig, rattles, and a hook.
The main thing is you want brand new line. You don't want anything wrong with that line. No nicks, you want to go over all of it to make sure that everything is perfect.
But I'm gonna tell you one thing about this jig, is the hook. I mean, that thing.
Massive.
You do not use a small one. I mean, that's a 6-aught, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big, big no-no to use a small hook.
Yeah. Catching a spawner it's a window. There's small windows, man. There's certain times where everything's perfect that one of those big ones will come up, and these guys are specialists at catching that one bass.
Look at it.
Oh. Got it. Oh, that was phenomenal. Holy cow. Oh, good. That was one of the best bites I've ever seen in my life. Dude, that was great. Did you see that?
That's a big male. That's Dixon Lake right there. Super male.
Coming up on the world's greatest fishing show. How do you grow a world record bass?
Right here is the #1 reason there's a 25-pound bass in Lake Dixon. Well, how big is it got to be where you really want to fish with it?
Of the 10 biggest largemouth bass ever recorded, 9 of them have been caught in Southern California. So what is it about this area and big bass? Many feel it's the climate. The warm weather provides a long growing season for the fish. Another big factor seems to be the availability of food, specifically the trout that is constantly being stocked in these lakes.
Right here, this truck right here is the #1 reason there's a 25-pound bass in Lake Dixon. And what's amazing is everybody's attracted. If you look when they're going to release the trout right here, we've got everybody coming fishing. It's a great time. folks, this is my friend Ling, and he's the guy that brings the trout every week. Now, Ling, did you know that you're pretty much responsible for growing the world record? You bring him an all-you-can-eat bass buffet. Did you know that?
Actually, you know, bring like
Trout? Yeah, that's what he's waiting for. The bass that lives in here, the 25-pounder, he's waiting for everything you bring. Why is there a world record bass in that lake? Take a look at. And as you see, for all the trout fishermen out here, this is the #1 fishing hole every Wednesday afternoon.
never get it this good.
Right. There's probably nothing more sporting than what these guys are doing right here. Sitting right next to the trout release truck. You almost felt sorry for those poor things when they were going down that chute. And that right there is dinner for the world record bass. Have a nice life for the next couple days. Every Wednesday.
Well, after a couple of days hanging with these trophy hunters, Mark knows the conditions aren't quite right for Lake Dixon's big females. But hey, no big deal. You just catch what bites and have yourself a time.
The temperatures weren't right. It got real cold at night. So, might as well catch what we can, you know.
There it is.
Look at that.
Now that's a big male.
big
The female
male,
is
man.
way bigger than the male.
Look at that.
Not a giant, but
He's been caught before right there.
this time of year they get red eyes. You know, those are the dominant males.
When they're on fire.
Yeah, they just.
Right on. They're hunters. They're true trophy hunters. And you never even pay attention to fish this size at all in this lake, do you?
Never.
No. They'll go down the bank and they'll see a 3, 4, 5 pound bass. Move on. Well, how big has it got to be where you really want to fish with it?
I would say at least, 10 to 12 pounds.
10, 12 pounds. Where he doesn't mess with it. Oh. And we're messing for we're messing with a 2-pounder.
Yeah.
I just want to go there and set the hook on some fish.
There you go.
And that size bass right there is pretty laughable to you, isn't it?
That's real.
That is great.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. That was so cool.
Look at those red eyes, too.
Oh, that. Dude, that was awesome. That was one of the best bites I've ever seen. This is insane.
Hear it? Oh, got him! Yeah! Yeah!
Look at that. Nice. Dude, you coached me right through that one. Right on, dude. You felt sorry for these guys. These guys put the time in more so than any human being on that lake to catch that fish, and they deserve it. You have no idea how much I respect that you threw that fish back. I think that's huge, man. You ever sit back and you're like, man, I threw out the lottery ticket.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of you, but it's all speculation.
It's a world record, man!
It's all speculation. There's nobody out there waiting with a check on, if you break this record, here's $1 million. You know? These are all just people speculating.
It almost seems like since they caught the fish, that they're a little bit haunted by it.
To turn your back on it and have somebody else come up here and catch that fish,
Right.
would just,
It hurt.
it would be tough.
Well, that right there is the #1 big fish story in the history of fishing from 3 of the most intriguing people I've ever spent an extended period of time with. And I gotta say, as many times as they've circled this lake, they're doing it right now, in fact, somewhere in my heart, I really want them to catch that fish. See you next week.